going to have about an hour-long tour. It's about a mile long. It's pretty easy walking. You guys can feel free to leave at any time. You don't need to tell me, it's okay. And we'll end the tour down on the beach. You guys can choose to stay and watch the sunset, or you can walk back with me to the parking lot.
It's a very beautiful dog. What's your dog's name? She's a mix, is she? What's her name?
Her name is Chili.
Chili. Oh, hello. You know your name well.
All right, so we're just gonna get off the trail a little bit here and talk about some geology.
Oof, I really don't know.
Where did the clipboard end up?
Oh, they're fixing to be talking, so
okay.
it will be.
It will come. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't need it for a few more stops.
No.
Okay, so we're gonna talk a little bit about the geology and situate us in the basin. You might have noticed that we're surrounded by mountains. And that's important partially because this lake is a terminal lake. That means all the water that enters the lake comes from the streams, mostly from the Sierras, and it never leaves except for through evaporation. And that makes the lake very salty, which we'll talk about more later. Now first I'm gonna have us look around. We'll start back behind us. You see the Sierra Nevada mountains. Back you can see there's some smoke coming up. That's from the fire in Yosemite. If you guys haven't heard of it, it's the Washburn fire. It's 0% contained. But the Sierras are the oldest mountain range here, and they're also the source of all of our water in the lake. Well, most of our water in the lake. And to our north, across the lake, we have the Bodie Hills. To our east, we have the Anchorite Range and Cowtrack Mountain. And to our south, we have the Mono Crater. Higher, just 80 years ago. In fact, the parking lot that you guys all parked in would have been about 3 feet underwater before 1941. And what happened in 1941 is that the LA Department of Water and Power began diverting 4 out of the 5 tributary streams that lead into Mono Lake. And I already mentioned that we get most of our water, it's actually around 75% of our water comes from those streams. So when they started diverting the water, they took all of it. Those streams dried up, we lost those riparian habitats, and the lake began to shrink. The lake lost 45 vertical feet in just 40 years. It doubled in salinity and lost half its volume. So this is 6392, where we're standing right now. 6392 is an important number for us because that is the management level of the lake. So before we get to that, I'm going to take us back a few years. In the 70s, a group of scientists came out here in the peak diversion years, and they noticed that the lake was in trouble. The water was increasing in salinity so much that the life that lives in the lake was at risk of dying, and the whole ecosystem was at risk of collapse. In 1978, the Mono Lake Committee, which is who I work for, we were founded. Talk about the Tufa, we need to talk a little bit about the water chemistry of this lake. I already mentioned that it's very salty, and another property of this lake is it's also very basic.
There's slimes on the water.
Yeah, look at that.
You can slide off.
So our next thing that we're going to do, if I could get a volunteer, we're going to take the pH of the water. Some of you might remember this from high school. It tells us how...
I haven't been in high school.
Well, don't worry, I'll explain it too. Anybody want to take a little piece of paper and dip it in the lake?
Can I?
Yeah. So, the lake being very basic means that it kind of has a chemical composition similar to soap or detergent. That's why it feels slippery. All right, thank you. So, here we have the pH scale, here we have the pH strip. I'm gonna put it where I think it is. You guys, it's kind of hard, sorry, this is such a huge group, it's hard to show things, but you can kind of see it, you see there? It's right around 9. The actual pH of the lake is around 9.8, which is extremely basic. And it makes the lake very hard to live in for most creatures, but there are a few that do. We'll talk about that. Volcanic activity. And then there's these underwater springs that I was talking about earlier, which are very high in calcium. They bubble up into the lake, they mix with the carbonate-rich salt water, and they form Tufa. So that's how the Tufa forms, and the reason it forms towers is that the fresh water is less dense than salt water, so it resides in sort of a column. And that's why we get these big towers instead of just like spread out. Although on other parts of the lakes you might see like boulders covered in tufa also, so it does that as well. But in this part of the lake, there's a lot of spring activity, a lot of stuff bubbling up. We get these great big towers, which is really cool. Now we have a fun activity again. They're 36% hairier than the average fly, and they'll form an air bubble around themselves when they walk into the lake. So they're kind of like tiny little scuba divers, which is so cool. Species of algae that live in the lake.
I got like these stuff in my fingers. The colors in my eyes.
Yeah, sometimes it's just around for some reason. Like sometimes they'll just be in one place and then not.
What do you think about the lake? It's so fascinating, isn't it?
Did you catch anything, Sarah?
I think I caught one. I caught 2 shrimp. They're just together.
Can I see? Hold on.
Okay, I'm gonna put the shrimp back.
Oh my god, I saw them. Good job, thank you. I can picture Sarah.
Yeah.